Man, stock nerds and market lovers, the show before the show is better than the show itself. So apparently Alex drinks the White Claw of energy drinks. What is that you just got, Alex?
It's a Celsius.
You know, I've not heard of the Celsius, so it's my own ignorance right there. What is it got like some kind of
It's
focus?
it's like an energy drink. It's got like
Yeah.
200 milligrams of caffeine. It tastes pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah,
Do you not drink the coffee?
I drink. No, I do both. I do both.
I I just take the straight coffee. I just take it straight up. And then so Alex gets up and goes gets a drink. And then Danny, like he's Gilligan on an island with the skipper, just like, hello, can anybody hear me? And it's probably the best thing Danny's done in 3 weeks on the show. And I got and it made me laugh. It's not coming across very well when I'm retelling the story, but God, I wish people were here. Danny, how are you?
I'm doing very well, Tim. How are
Man,
you?
you got a fan club. I got a bunch of things for people today, but you got a fan club. They want to know about your meat rub. Like what's in how we talked about how you rub your meat last week.
Yeah.
I got somebody that texted me well on the Facebook Messenger, a friend, and said what's in your spice rub, and I said actually don't know. I know it's some kind of I wanted to say like paplona pepper, but I'm like I made that up. I don't.
Paprika pepper.
Yeah, I don't think that's a thing.
I
And
think
so
Paplona's a town in Italy, but I'm not sure.
poblano was I thinking poblano? I think I was thinking
It's not poblano.
what is it?
Ancient. It's a secret chili.
Oh, you're not going to share it with the.
It's a pasilla chili.
Oh, okay. And what do you mix with it? You don't have to give the exact recipe. This guy's like, what's so good about it? I'm like, it's really good, and a lot of people really like it. So I said, I'll ask Danny about it on the show. What you got? You're gonna give the secret recipe, or you're gonna save it?
Oh, I don't give that recipe to anybody.
Oh, really?
Nobody.
You're like the Colonel,
I,
except you're
I,
like you're.
I'm going to market it pretty soon. I get
You
people
know,
calling me going, hey, I'm out. I need some. I need my fix. Please send me some.
I'm
Seriously.
sorry. I want to go back to you're like the Colonel because I just pictured you with white hair with one of the what's the tie that the Colonel wears?
It's
Uh,
finger licking good.
That's a good one, Don.
Can you do
You gotta
Don?
get.
Can you do Danny as Yosemite Sam as the Colonel?
No, it's only a 1-to-1. The commutative property doesn't work on those. I
So,
think.
You're not
like if
flexible.
Yosemite Sam got promoted from Yosemite Sam to Colonel, that would be Danny with his
Well,
spice.
depends. Can I carry my guns or not?
Oh,
Yeah,
Right.
That's
I
very
think
good.
I think in Texas you can. So Hunter, I got something for you, brother. So a couple weeks ago, look, and this is not this. I just find all this interesting. We talked 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now about DraftKings and Penn might have peaked, right? And Hunter's got some really good thoughts on it, and that's not me joking around. That's in all sincerity. Um, and we'll see what happens. I mean, these are just moves in the stock right now. I mean, this is what we're talking about in 2 weeks is micro. I'm not talking. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the macro? But in my hands here, I was reading about golf betting and how golf betting is the new. I don't know about golf betting is the new thing, but golf betting might be the most lucrative of all the betting that's coming out because now you can bet on any, like in the very near future, you'll be allowed to bet on any shot. So it says the on ramps are about to get significantly busier for betting. Currently, wagering in golf is mostly limited to who you think is going to win. They're static bets, meaning what's the score. But now the holy grail for golf is in-play betting, and the possibilities are endless because it represents the ability to wager on any shot from any player. Is it going to land in the fairway? Is it going to land in the rough or the sandpit? What kind of parlay could you do with that? And it got me thinking that it's this kind of access that I wonder if this is what, like, have we reached peak betting? Like, apparently, people are going to run out of money at some time, right?
Possibly.
Yeah, like, but the thing with, and I had a couple questions because I noticed that the NFL this week signed deals. Let me show you DraftKings real quick, stock nerds, because I thought the stock, just like probably 99% of America does, like, oh, the stock's surely going to pop on this NFL deal that they just signed. And the stock is not really up much. You can see it's still a laggard on the daily chart.
Well, they were up 5 to 6% after hours, traded like almost 3 million shares after hours. And they also had a pop. I can't remember exactly what the news was a week or two ago where they popped up to like 63, 64 and sold off from that as well. So they haven't been able to hold on to
somebody
need
big is
games.
selling the pops. I mean, some huge fund is stepping in there and selling all the pops. And it's interesting to me because that person or that fund, maybe the future is status quo for the time being. But the deal with the NFL is interesting. It got me thinking, when you sign a deal with like a league, are you getting the data like right from the NFL as it's happening to provide in-game opportunities? What is the significance of a deal? Hunter, by the way, if people didn't know at home, Hunter is our betting expert. And
Well,
if
I
you,
think,
Hunter, don't live into it, man. Just make it up and go along.
yeah, well, I think the deal is more indicative of, you'll see, I think it was DraftKings, FanDuel, and Caesars. Is that right? I believe that's
Yeah.
the three.
Yep.
So, if you're watching you're watching Monday Night Football, there's going to be a lot more DraftKings, FanDuel, Caesars entertainment. I'm sure there'll be specific DraftKings or FanDuel or Caesars offers, promotions, etc. Like, DraftKings already does a good bit of this, but it'll be, at halftime, they'll boost your odds for the over in the final 2 quarters or something like that. So I think it's just a lot of exclusive advertising and promotion on behalf
that
of the
specific
NFL.
bet.
Yeah,
Because
and
Penn could do that too, right? I mean,
Penn does it, but I guess the difference is the NFL is not gonna push it on their behalf. Penn it'll be on their own efforts because they're not a partner with the NFL.
understood.
Which Portnoy's got a lot of reach too, obviously, but I think that's honestly, I think it's a big deal. Obviously, the stock isn't reacting greatly today, but I mean, I think that's a relatively big deal for perhaps the future of gambling. I mean, that's maybe the biggest sports franchise in America, going out on a limb and entering into an official partnership. But I mean, the stocks are just kind of stuck right now. I mean, Penn has been right around this 100 level for a while. DraftKings has been trying to hold that 56 to 58 level. It's just they're not in favor right now. So
it is interesting, and I especially with Amazon, because Amazon won the Thursday Night Football rights, and I think they got one playoff game too out of the deal. And it's pure streaming. It's not a co-broadcast. It's an actual package, and it's thought that they're going to offer just how you buy stuff with one click, like one click buy. They're going to have one click betting with the Fire TV, and so you'll have to have to access the games. You're going to have to watch, I believe, either online if you have Prime. Or if you've got an Apple TV, they have Prime Video. If you've got a Fire TV, it's pretty easy to watch the games too. But that one-click betting, and is Amazon about to become their own sports book? And that's I mean, who knows?
Roger Goodell and Portnoy are enemies. If you ever want to talk about two people, so no surprise that Penn did not get the nod in that setup.
Yeah,
Roger Goodell, the NFL commissioner, and Dave Portnoy of Barstool, who Penn owns Barstool Sports.
That's actually a very lucrative position because it aligns you with the fans, because the fans can then find a common enemy and you can banty about just that commonality instead of liking the quote unquote suits and kissing up to them. And then, but I think that's Penn's strategy, is to use Dave Portnoy is an influencer. Use an influencer to get your reach. Don't buy your reach. I think Penn doesn't. I don't know how much money they spend on advertising, but it's nowhere near what DraftKings spends.
I think that's Portnoy's strategy as a whole, is to make himself a man of the people against the oppressing powers to a degree.
Yep.
He's done a good job of it.
Yeah, and what's interesting though too is, and I've been thinking a lot about this because I love to read about the parlays, and we've talked about that ad nauseum. But if anybody follows like a Darren Ravel, and what's the app that he works for? Pro Action Pro. I'm
not sure.
It. Oh, hold on, I'm gonna find it.
I follow him, but I don't know the company.
I totally do. And if you give me a second, and I apologize, I should have been a little bit more prepared for this.
And just to circle back, that's right. I was just going to say that the move a week or two ago where DraftKings popped up a little bit, I believe it was the partnership with TPC Scottsdale out in Arizona. I could be wrong, but so just to your point about golf, they're partnering with an actual, professional golf course, I believe, to have a physical sports betting location on the course where you can place bets.
Yeah, and so it's interesting, like with action alerts, you actually know how you're doing performance-wise. Like it tracks every bet that you've ever made, and not only does it track every bet, it allows other people to see how well you're doing. The guys at Barstool, and this isn't a critique, it's just something I noticed, you never know how they're doing. You don't know if they're plus or minus on the year. You don't, I mean, they might tell you they lost an individual bet or not, but the fantasy around gambling, like what's Big Cat's name? Barstool Big Cat. What's his actual name?
I don't know his actual name.
Dan
Dan
Katz.
Katz.
Yeah.
Yeah, like he has the can't lose parlay, which of course it can lose, but you never
Most
know
of the time does lose.
Yeah, and that's the thing that got me thinking about this, that eventually people are going to run out of money for this. And after the stimulus kind of dries up, and you saw a great retail number for the month of March, hence the stimulus checks went out. Where's the next round of betting going to come from? Just like you've seen NFTs drop off in price, non-fungible tokens like NBA Top Shot has pulled back a little bit, and a bunch of other things like Peyton Manning and Eli are now releasing non-fungible tokens. Have we hit peak NFT? And so yeah, and so it'll be really interesting to see how this all develops. So that was a betting update. But then Danny, I got something for you, because Danny likes history, and I don't know, Danny, how much do you know about Lee Iacocca? And you know enough?
I know quite a bit.
Yeah, and so Lee Iacocca. So my favorite newspaper, IBD. Look at Alex. He's like, Lee Iacocca what? So
I know who he is.
Okay, fair enough. So my favorite paper is IBD, and I habitually read the Leaders in Success, and this one struck me. So Lee Iacocca is a car guy from Ford, and well, forever until he got fired. And so it's interesting, Danny. Let me read you this real quick, because eventually we'll start a new segment on the show. So if we'll give StockNerds an update here, we're going to be upgrading the show in the coming weeks. So our producer is back, and what I want to do, Danny, is I want to give Zach, our producer, Zach, the rundown of what I'm going to talk about, so he can put it on the screen. But I'm not going to share it, like always. I'm not going to share it with you guys, so people can more easily follow along. What do you think of that as I produce the show on air?
I want to see what he comes up with.
You want to see what Zach comes up with? So, well,
I wouldn't give away too much stuff yet. Let's make sure we can pull it off.
I think that's all within Zach's capabilities. But anyway, after getting fired, Lee Iacocca was outraged, but he turned that setback into one of the best things ever. Iacocca, president of Ford since 1978, when Ford earned a $2 billion profit, yet Ford fired him after 32 years with the company because chairman Henry Ford II didn't like his bold attempts to innovate, nor did he appreciate Iacocca's rising popularity. Recruiters made Iacocca 50 offers to lead thriving companies in many industries, but he wanted to stay the course and remain in the car business. So he joined Chrysler, which, by the way, look at this chart of Chrysler. See, this is what I like about IBD and when they do Leaders in Success. So by the way, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't realize Chrysler had turned into STLA. I followed it through the FCU days, but I didn't realize it had turned into STLA. And that's what they call a nice looking chart. I mean, all the automotive charts look good, but Chrysler is a conglomerate now with Fiat. And if anyone can tell me what the STLA stands for, I'd really be appreciative of that. Hunter, Alex, maybe take a shot. But that's a good looking chart there.
I'm as good as you. I mean, I see Stellantis, but I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so he took over Chrysler, which is now Stellantis. And then it just goes on to say here, so struggles at Ford unleashed Iacocca to do some of the best work. Iacocca, I didn't realize this. Lee Iacocca invented the minivan. Did you know that, Danny?
I did know that.
And I've got myself one of those Chrysler minivans right now. I love that thing. It's like driving your couch. I am not gonna. I love the utilitarian value of the minivan, but I also sit to pee at night so I don't fall over. So maybe, I've lived a fast life before. So let's see here. Minimax project turned into Chrysler. But anyway, he's got 3 books, and I've got them all now. I read this. I'm like, I'm getting these books. So Straight Talk, Where Have All the Leaders Gone? And there's another one that I'm missing here. But man, Lee Iacocca led a freaking fabulous life and turned Chrysler around. Do you know how hard that was? I mean, if you go on to read the whole article, Lee Iacocca is amazing.
Yeah, it also made Ford look like a bonehead a few years later when Chrysler just.
Well, it's interesting. Like, if Ford was turning heads and leading, why would they fire? Like, I don't think there's been, other than the original Henry Ford, has there been a successful Ford to lead Ford? I don't think so.
His son, but they still had a near monopoly then too. So I mean, his son,
even recently, like they had to bring in so many turnaround artists to get Ford pointed in the right direction.
Have you seen Ford versus Ferrari?
I have not yet. A good movie?
Yeah.
Great movie.
Awesome movie, but I'll tell you one thing that's a little bit it's a little misleading. Is they tried to Carroll Shelby, Shelby Cobra, he was the guy that was doing all the stuff. They're trying to bring out the race cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they used this guy as a scapegoat, one of the VPs, as the guy that was against Carroll Shelby, and the one that kept crossing him, and it wasn't. It was Ford.
Oh,
Ford
really?
was the one that, yes. And I don't think they want to do that because they're still, family, if they're running it, and they didn't want to get a negative stigma if that movie came out and portrayed that. And the family, I can't remember the guy's name, but the VP, that guy's dead, but they made him look like
he gone, Danny, he gone.
They made him look like the evil guy, and the families come out, they're pretty upset. They're upset about it. They said this isn't right, and
which got me thinking. So this whole process, so like someone might be saying at home, Tim, why are you telling us about books that you're going to read, and why educate us? Because I saw that STLA and I'm like, that's a really good looking chart. Then it said, well, what about Ford? What's Ford doing this year? Ford's a leading stock this year. It's up 43%. And then it got me thinking, well, like of stocks that you wouldn't suspect for leadership, right? Like stocks that you would just be like, those are boring type stocks. Got me thinking about the Dow. What do you think the number one stock? I'll take anyone's guesses here. What the number one stock in the Dow is percentage gain wise for 2021?
Boeing.
Boeing? Okay, interesting. Any other guesses? I won't draw this out. No?
My first guess would be Boeing.
You don't get to look it up.
I'm not looking it up. I'm looking at some charts though, but
no,
I don't. It's what?
Walgreens.
Oh, that makes sense. They're giving all the vaccines.
Well, WBA, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the vaccines, Danny, or something. I think we talked about it. I don't remember. We talked about it on the show or maybe before the show. They've got this partnership with Kroger now to get you back into the store. And I only discovered it in Tennessee when we were driving through in the Chrysler minivan, the Iacocca mobile, and it was Kroger pricing in the front of the store, and there was a Kroger right down the road, and it got me thinking that I wonder. Don likes to talk about the new in stocks, and I don't think it's always new technology or it could be new technology, but it could be new management or it could be a new business model. And like the whole front of the store is how CVS used to and how Walgreens made money, but with the pandemic, you know, groceries surged, but those stocks got left behind, and now that's the number one stock in the Dow. It's not Apple, it's not Boeing.
I would have never known. Thanks for sharing.
And I'll go back to this list. Like Intel's up 30%, Goldman Sachs almost 30%, Caterpillar, American Express, and it's interesting. Like if you go, well, where's Apple at on this list? And gosh, I should have did this before. Apple is all the way down here at 1.3%, just to give you a sense. Procter & Gamble, look at the negatives. Like Apple is the Mendoza line. Apple is like getting close to break even here. And then you got Procter & Gamble leads you into the negative. Nike down almost 6% for the year. This is as of April 15th. We're taping this show on Friday the 16th. So this is pretty much up to date here. And like you would think Home Depot with the housing boom would be number one. It's Walgreens. I mean, it's Walgreens. And so all of that is interesting, just to tell you that it's a market and anything can happen, and you shouldn't be surprised by anything that happens in the market. Which brings me now, Danny, to our topic of the week. So now, Danny, in the show so far, I have introduced a little quick how to get to know you. This is how the show is going to go, Danny, once we get Zach on board. little quip, socializing. I'm socializing with Alex, socializing with Hunter. Don got involved here talking about Portnoy. We did a little book club, right? We did a little book club. And now we're going to get to the main topic. Are you ready for it?
I'm
Carson Wentz cards again.
Oh my gosh, that would be a great main topic. Did you see Carson Wentz trending on Twitter yesterday? He was absolutely positively trending on Twitter because him and Frank Reich have a connection. They met at the University of North Dakota and they both shared Bible verses. And let me tell you something, from there, the magic was cemented. And that's when they went to the Super Bowl that year. They would have never gotten to the Super Bowl without Carson Wentz. Nick Foles came in and said, I got you, buddy. And the rest is history. They're going to do it again. Put some money on the Colts. Let's do a parlay, Hunter. Let's do a Revere parlay. Like Carson Wentz comeback player of the year, Colts to the AFC championship game, and Eagles. Oh, what a dream. It won't happen though. But if Eagles could just meet the Colts in the Super Bowl, that would be awesome.
The first two I was somewhat okay with. The Eagles making the playoffs this year is probably a risky bet in my opinion. I think they'll be decent, but I don't think they can make the playoffs, honestly. I mean, they're in full rebuild mode now. They got no receivers. But my buddy is a huge Colts fan. And I mean, I think they can make the AFC championship game depending on how good Wentz is and who they draft.
Yeah. Alex, is there a vacuum being run anywhere near you that you want to talk about?
Do you hear noise?
I think it was your printer.
Was
Did
it
you
your
print
printer
something?
or a vacuum cleaner?
No.
I saw you sit there, freeze, look, and I'm like, is that a vacuum?
No, I'm listening. There's no vacuum, nothing.
That's awesome. So, Danny.
No, it's not me. I mean, it could be that my cat is making some strange noises outside the door, but I can't hear him, I guess, because of the headphones. But I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't hear anything. That's weird.
No, it's all good. So, listen, Danny, I think this is going to be interesting. Funds, the way the calendar works, you're going to see a plethora of new marketing come out from funds, and it's an interesting quirk of the calendar that I'll just read to you. Look, you can have my research, folks. Oh, before I do this, can we just talk about this dog coin?
I was gonna ask you, Doge,
right? Like, this is, I don't care if it's only 34 cents. You throw $10,000 at it and go up 100%.
Tim, I had friends texting me. They're up 200% on this in like 3 days.
That's the way to do it. That's how you.
And I was
money.
like, take your money and run.
This is the Dire Straits market, man. Money for nothing, man, and the chicks for free. This is. You see how I did a little musical reference there, Dan? Danny likes the musical references, and to get back into that, he wants Zach to drop them. So I'm working them back in, Daniel. You see that?
I saw that.
Another mediocre band.
What? What are some other Dire Straits songs?
There are none.
Who sang Nights in White Satin? Is that Kansas?
Sultan of Swing, maybe.
No, Salt in the Swing is what I was thinking of. Who sang Nights in White Satin? That's Kansas, right? Or the Moody Blues. The Moody Blues.
Moody Blues.
That's her.
Ron,
yeah, I got nothing. I don't know any of this.
Over my head.
Well, you weren't born yet, so.
So it's expectable, I guess. You just,
Yeah.
I mean, this Dogecoin
that's all they played. That's all they played on MTV when MTV first came out. Money for nothing and your chicks for free. That's like every fifth song.
That and Video Killed a Radio Star. That was a one-hit wonder.
Yeah.
Dire Straits isn't a one-hit wonder, though. I mean, other than those two songs, what else do they?
They're a two-hit wonder.
A two-hit wonder. Yeah. What am I thinking?
Tim or anyone, does anybody know like what this is? This Dogecoin?
Yeah, it was started as a joke back in 2012, I believe.
It's the ultimate game of musical chairs with money.
Yeah. Yeah, and like, look at this. This chart goes back to 14, but I mean, just trading under pennies. I mean, this is an amazing return. So if you own tens of thousands of these coins, you are doing well. That's how I used to trade. In '99, Alex, I was stashed at VT2 in Pensacola, well, Whiting Field, which is Milton, Florida. And I would trade penny stocks. Like I would buy.
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, gazillion shares under a penny, and then you go, I only needed like 1/100th of a move, make $500, $1,000 in a day, and I'd be done. And I'd be like, this is great. I thought that's the way the world worked. Then I started flight school, and the whole market melted down in March. I had to know what the hell was happening.
Yeah, that was before the tech wreck. That was right at the bubble.
Yeah, like it was the fall of '99, then 2000 came. Yeah,
right there. That was just throw money at it. It goes up
1,000%. Yeah.
You were a pilot, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm.
You got helicopter pilots making good trades. You know the market's topping.
Whoa. At that point in time, absolutely.
He's on this he's flying a helicopter. He's making day trades on the chopper.
No, this is ground school. This is all ground school.
I know. I'm just jostling around.
But this is, I mean, there's going to be stories this weekend coming out of the Dogecoin millionaires.
Oh, that's a good point.
And if this thing gets to $1, you're going to see the Dogecoin multimillionaires, and everybody's missed it, right? Except for the hodlers, man. And you got to give them credit. You know, you throw $1,000 at this thing and it goes up 10,000%. That's real money.
It's a lotto ticket, yeah.
Yeah, it's real money. So God bless them, man. Dogecoin is awesome, man. I certainly am not going to rain on that parade. You can't buy, the thing is, where do you buy Dogecoin? Is Dogecoin on Coinbase?
Robinhood, I know you can.
Robinhood.
You can on Gemini. I checked my Gemini account and it's not there.
You can't buy it on PayPal. The only crypto I have is through PayPal, and I've got Ethereum, which I love, and Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's got the GME effect of all the people talking about it and just buy it and hold it.
So Pat Toomey
but never sell it. To be fair, they have.
Hunter, you're awesome, man. Thanks for bringing me in. So you mean Pat Toomey from Pennsylvania's got the Dogecoin now because he got the GME off the, hey, we're not going to investigate these guys for another month. Go ahead, Pat, buy them. Which then leads me to what Alex brought up. Hey, do you know Nancy Pelosi bought the Microsoft? And it's like, oh, did Nancy Pelosi know that there was a bill about to be introduced? And so let's take a look at part of Microsoft.
Day before the bill was reduced, she bought Microsoft calls and she's on the committee.
But we've been nailing this. So last week, before this news came out that Nancy was buying calls in Microsoft, all the stocks Congress is buying and selling, that's just timing. That's not knowing anything.
Right.
Like, come on, Nancy. That's what they do. Like, they track down. I don't know if you know this. They were able to, with the 9/11, the 9/11 Commission was able to track down the terrorists because they shorted the airline stocks. And so they went to the CBOE and they had the puts bought. Like, not, it's greed is what it is. Like, greed drives everything. So when you want to catch like we always joke around that somebody knows something somewhere. So when a merger is about to happen, the SEC is totally looking at all the calls and seeing who's buying them beforehand, and the exchanges hand over all that data. That's why it doesn't pay to go in there and just do that. Like, it's not worth it. Whatever you're going to make off of it isn't worth your freedom.
But Tim, like, they can't do anything. Like, what are they going to do? I guess, no. They can't do anything.
No, that's the outrage. Like, and even if Nancy Pelosi isn't on the defense subcommittee, she's the freaking Speaker of the House.
Yeah.
No, I think she was on some committee that approved that.
Oh, well, maybe she is, but let's pretend that she's not. Let's pretend that
she knew it in advance and bought calls the day before they announced it.
Oh, wait, the day before she did it?
The day before they announced Microsoft was getting the military contract for the cybersecurity. She's in there buying it. By the way, on those calls we were talking about, they bought options puts on the airlines. They bought them on the insurance companies. They traced it down to a small brokerage firm in Germany is where they went in and made the trade, like put the trades in. They tracked down those terrorists internationally.
Wow.
Yeah, and I only know that because I'm sorry, Don, I muted you because it was staticky. And I only know that because John Najarian shared that when I was teaching. If anyone knows John DeJerry, he's got, I think it's Rebel Trade now. It's something Rebel that he has. And his brother were talking about it back when I was with IBD and I was teaching a class with them. And I see they have like these great slides that show all the puts that were being bought and everything. So
yeah, so we did a money event with them years back with the old firm I was with, and they actually came and talked about it. So they, that back then it was like Options Monster, and they were measuring the volume of options, and they saw these huge, unusual option shorting on all those companies. They didn't know what it was for, and they kind of mentioned it, but didn't really know, didn't quite put it together because that's pretty nefarious. And John told me as soon as the planes hit, he was like, that's wow. And he said the very next day, the feds were on his doorstep saying, we need some of your data. And he said, sure. He turned over that.
So, Don, I'm going to mute you for just 1 second to see if that's your static, and I apologize for it. Is your static, Don? I don't know what it is. In real time, I don't know what it is.
I can't hear it this time.
Oh, you can't? Okay,
No.
if you can't hear it, then Don, unmute yourself. It's just coming through on me. Alex, you're muted too for some reason. I don't know why. Okay. So, so Danny, Jason Zweig, Marty Zweig's son, who Marty Zweig wrote. Oh gosh, what are the books Marty Zweig wrote, Don? They literally just escaped my head.
I was thinking of Marty Schwartz. I don't know what Zweig wrote.
Great investor books, right? Isn't that him? You know what? Somebody can do that research. I will continue on with my sojourn here. So Jason Zweig's writing that fund returns have just taken some of the biggest, fastest swings in history, which is really interesting. So at the end of February, 40 mutual funds reported total returns. So listen to this, 40 mutual funds at the end of February reported total returns of at least 100% for the prior 12 months, according to Morningstar. Among the ETF funds, 59 had one-year returns greater than 100% at the end of February. 1 month later, according to FactSet, 218 did. So you see a progression of funds being able to report 100% or more returns, and it has everything to do with the trailing 12 months. And now that we're out of March, the whole pandemic goes away. And so this big reversal in stocks that really started at the end of March, like March 23rd, I believe, is when we bought Amazon that one day. And then you saw this big reversal in stocks. Now all these funds can absolutely just start touting these amazing returns. And what you're going to see is a bunch of performance chasing. And we talked about that with ARK funds. What are ARK funds up for the year? Can anyone give that to me?
I don't think they are up for the year.
I don't think they're up.
Yeah, I don't think they are either. I don't know what they're doing.
I'm pulling up ARKK right now.
It's about flat.
Okay. So what happened? Did hundreds of fund managers just start popping genius pills, although the marketing departments are gearing up to tout their brilliance? Instead, the ghastly losses of early 2020, when stocks fell by 34%, have just disappeared from trailing one-year returns. As a result, websites, apps, account statements will be showing monstrous performance that's nothing to do than happenstance of the calendar. So you're going to see in all these funds, it doesn't even matter if I'm going to list some funds here in a second. You're going to see a ton of funds just report these great numbers. You're going to think that these managers are brilliant, but it's just a calendar quirk. So let's see here. It's one of the best or worst examples I've ever seen of what finance researchers call time period dependency. How much your investments earn always depends on when you start counting and when you stop. Under rules set by the SEC, the 12-month return that the funds report for the period ending March 31st assumes that you bought before the market opened on April 1st and held constantly throughout the year, and you never sold. But that doesn't usually happen. So let's see here. So such blips create what Wall Street calls easy comps. Performance takes an automatic upward leap when crashes drop out of the record. So then we're going to get into some funds here. So look at these funds and their results. Here we go. So there we go. So this is a Direxion, their oil and gas production. Look at these ETFs, 384%. X-Links, 2 leverage monthly read, microsectors oil. I mean, this is, you're going to see some awesome is in air quotes, marketing coming out from this. So while you look at those returns, it isn't just what's reported returns of the funds that stocks can hold that twist the consumer calendar. This is where it gets interesting because it's really affecting, I believe, indices right now and interest rates. The consumer price index fell by more than 1% from February through May of 2020 as the pandemic put retail spending into a freeze. That will distort year-over-year comparisons in the coming months. Even if the cost of living increases more slowly than it has recently, inflation. So now, Danny, this is the part that's really important, I think, for StockNerds to understand. Inflation could exceed 3% when it's reported for May for the 12 months through April 30th. Does that make sense? The way I'm just reading it, but
it makes sense. I don't think they'll do it because they'll lie about it. I think it's already over 3, but yes, it makes sense.
Okay. So they could report it, but this person, Lynn Alden, an independent investment strategist from Atlantic City, says that would be the highest year inflation recorded since 2011, especially if the reported number is above that 3%. And what it goes on to say is that it's really not probably 3%. It's just the anomaly of the quirk, but you think that it's actually over 3%. Well, remember, Danny, they're not factoring in food. We all know that food is the biggest inflator right now. Like if you want to look at a chart of corn,
or energy.
Yeah, or energy. Yeah. Yeah. And I think that if it gets too high, and we've talked about this in the past, if it gets too high, all those trucks that are being sold right now, I mean, Ford doesn't even make a car except for the Mustang, I believe. All those trucks that with their big gas tanks that have been sold over the last, what, 4 or 5 years, you get gas $3, $4, heaven forbid, $5 a gallon, like it was in Los Angeles and San Diego when I was out at IBD in 2008. If you get something like that again,
hey Tim,
that's going to put a crimp on a bunch of folks.
On that oil and gas ETF,
Mm-hmm.
if that person had bought back in 2019 and was down 80%, that 348% gain didn't do anything for them.
Yeah, but wait till you see how Direxion markets this. Like I don't know. What I think stock nerds and market lovers need to be careful of is it's not just performance chasing, it's understanding who's going to tout returns. Like when they're talking returns, or you get somebody's brochure. Like we don't print brochures because nobody puts the bad stuff on a brochure. They don't put the hard times. They don't put everything is roses on a brochure. And this kind of nonsense is absolutely going to encapsulate every piece of marketing stock nerds and market lovers read.
Well, not only that, but those leveraged ETFs by definition are supposed to be for shorter term trading. They're not supposed to be buy and holds and longer term.
Right.
So they're supposed to say that in their disclaimers. Directions.
Yeah, but they actually got the guy from Direxion on here, and he says that most of their investors don't hold for long periods because of what you just cited, erosion and short-termism. But you're going to see mutual funds doing this. You don't think you're going to see mutual funds touting their 100+?
Absolutely. No,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and so what's interesting though, however, an eruption of 100 or triple-digit returns is like so Danny, this is what I was like, oh, I just learned a new word. It's MANNA, mana. It's like manna from heaven.
Manna
so that got. You never heard of?
Yes, I thought you were a Catholic. No?
Moses.
Well, hold on. What's that?
Manna from heaven is the bread from heaven, from God.
I brought it up here. So manna, sometimes spelled M-A-N-A, is according to the Bible an edible substance which God provided for the Israelites during their travels in the desert during the 40-year period of the Exodus.
I thought it was normally it's spelled M-A-N-N-A.
Yeah, in the article it's M-A-N-N-A. But I was like, I bet you Danny knows this word because I sure as hell don't.
I never knew that.
Yeah, I never knew that either. And I've heard the phrase.
How many heathens we got in this crowd?
Probably 3. And so I was like, gosh, I want to look that up. And I'm gonna. But I was like, I for sure knew that you knew what it meant, right? I didn't. Don, did you know that word?
Believe it or not.
Yeah, of course. I grew up Catholic. I can't believe you never heard manna from heaven. And
I've heard the phrase. I wasn't even going to pretend to know the word, so I looked it up.
Yes.
What's that, Hunter?
Actually, I'm actually reading a book last night, and I was actually reading about the Sinai and the Negev and the travel of the skies, rewalking the Bible. It's pretty
They
cool.
made that into a picture book? That's pretty cool.
Not a picture book.
Pop up.
Pop up.
Danny's got a manna tree in his backyard.
I do, baby.
I wanted to stop you before I didn't know.
Jam, and you're ready to go.
So for the next few months, investors should be even more skeptical than usual about superior performance. That's the thing about performance claims. Like you're going to see them on TV. There's nobody to challenge a commercial. Like there's nobody to challenge a brochure. Like you got to know this stuff, that what's happening. And by the way, I would have never thought of this until I read it. Like until I read, oh, that it makes sense. Like when you read it, like, oh yeah, that makes sense that the month's going to drop off and now everyone's going to look great. But what was the return? Like, so if you had that Direxion fund, Alex, what's the return for the investor over 2 years or 3 years?
I think so if you go down off 100, 20, then, so it's about a minus 20%. You're down 20%.
Yeah. Like, think about it. Almost 350% return didn't pull you out of the hole.
Yeah.
Leverage works both ways.
Right, and that's really interesting. Like, I don't know if you can pull up a Van Eck. Pick one of these. Pick another one, Alex. It doesn't matter which one. Can you pick another one and do the same thing?
Steel Path. Invesco Steel Path. That one you're up.
That one you make up?
Yeah, you're up on that one.
Okay. Well, that's good that 130% return on something actually pulls you into the green after 2 years.
But here's the other point, and like if you look down at that real estate fund, it's doing great now, but remember what happened in 2008. The whole point is timing is important. Yeah. Timing when you do things is important. That's the big takeaway.
Yep. So now that leads us into let's talk about coin. What's coin doing right now, Hunter?
Let's see here. Up 3.5%, right around 330, 335 in that range.
So you can see the performance. This is a 5-minute chart of coin. It's so new, and I'll be really interested to see if this. Does anyone know the size of this, like percentage? Like Baba was the biggest offering when it came out, Alibaba in 2014. I don't think coin is anywhere close to Alibaba. Does anyone know the size?
I think it's the 5th biggest IPO.
It was 100 billion when it opened at 381.
I mean, that's a big valuation.
I think about what, 81 billion, something like that, Don, 78, something like that.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, so it opened at 381. So we'll just do this shanty style here. So we're gonna take price down to 381, right there. That's close enough for government work. And we'll try to extend it. Oh, there we go. We'll extend price over here. So from open right now, you're down almost 13%. If you bought the open, if you bought 429, of course you're doing worse. So you're down 13%. But if you look at the one I think is close to what coin's doing right now, and you're gonna have to go to a weekly chart to scroll over and find it, is Alibaba. Back in 2014, I remember this very acutely, and it started the Alibaba top in 2014. And so Baba comes public, and here's the thing I want to point out. So Baba comes public, opens up at 92.93. It's trading 238, 240. So if your plan is to hold something, I want to make sure I make this really clear. If your plan is to just hold something, as Danny would say, you put it in the proverbial jar or the desk drawer and you just sit on it, yeah, it might go up. How many years did Facebook take to turn it around down? Because they got down to $20 after the IPO. Here's Facebook, same time frame.
Yeah, it came public in May of 2012, and
so 1 year.
Yeah, it was July of 2013 when they had their big breakout from a base.
Yep. So a year.
And another good point is, look, Microsoft for years, 80s, 90s was an awesome stock, but right in the early 2000s, after the tech wreck, it was dead money for 15 years. It was dead, and just recently has it reemerged as a leader. So that's sometimes you'll have a leading stock that's a leader for a couple cycles, and then it goes away and it never comes back. It needs to be sold, never bought back. Some may reinvent themselves like Microsoft did with a new CEO, and it can become a leader again later. That's why you can't stick them in a door and just hope for the best for your kids for college or whatever.
And so here's Facebook, comes public just north of 40, and to the low, it lost over 50%. You know, you're down over 55% from where it opened to the low. And of course, now it's trading over $300. Obviously, those are fantastic returns. But is that, if that's your trading plan, like just buy the IPOs that are hyped, that are hot, that's great. But you got to know which, I mean, how long are you willing to sit, and how long is it going to be dead money? And like Baba turned it around. Like Baba had what, 5 weeks of disillusion, and then, you know, you're down over 10%, and then it starts to make its move, but then it just undercuts its low, and you know.
Yeah, it broke out big time May of 2017.
So it comes public in 2015, and the breakout was May of 2017. And so now it takes me back to coin, and I don't know if coin's going to put a top in the market, but here's the problem with big issues. And look, this market is very interesting in terms of the cyclicality of it right now and what's leading. But when you're looking at this coin chart, let me just get it. I'll go longer. Go 15 minutes. I'll go 30 minutes. So there's a 30-minute chart of coin. Who knows? I mean, coin could rally. It could continue down for a bunch of weeks, but there's a bunch of money now tied up in this. And the funds that bought it, like ARK bought it. ARK bought a couple slugs. ARK bought it 2 days in a row. ARK was in here supporting price. So what happens when ARK, I mean, ARK, do you think Kathy Wood can come in here and buy it every day to support it? I mean,
she got it at 250, so she's in the green.
Wait, before pre-IPO, or because her latest two buys, she bought it on IPO day and she bought it Thursday. She had it before.
Yeah, well, she did. Yeah, she would have had to pay market on Thursday, but well, maybe she didn't get it at 250. 250 was where they were trying to open it, but I don't know if there was any shenanigans going on behind the door.
You got a bunch of the open, I think, at 380. What was it, the open?
On the emails that ARK sends out, and thank you for doing that, by the way, the transparency that they provide. It doesn't give you the price that she buys them at. So it was just on her sheet on Wednesday.
She bought like $250 million worth on the first day. I think that's right.
Yeah. And so you got to think though, what do you have to sell to make room for that? And now do that math across the board.
She sold Tesla.
Yeah. And that's that. There's that. And then there's all these SPACs. And by the way, the IPO train isn't stopping. Like there's two I wrote down here there's another one. It's TSP. And this is is that right? Telefonica? Is this I don't know if this is the car one that came public from San Diego or not. There's one that came public from San Diego, but a lot of these they're struggling. Like this is just a little bit better performance than coin here, but these IPOs, they go through this whole process, and if you're willing to hold, great. But this is going to make it incredibly tough, I think, on the markets. Don, do you have any thoughts on IPO buying? Any patterns?
Yeah, generally speaking, you want to wait for an IPO based form.
What does that look like?
Preferably a cup, usually, or a cup with handle. Could be a flat base, but usually they do exactly what they're doing now. There's a flurry of activity after it opens. People bid it up. It breaks back below where it opened. It bases for a little while, and then you just sit and wait for a cup to form.
So give me an example of one. Facebook Facebook fell too much.
Well, Baba formed a very nice cup after
let's do
after it opened, and really had the exact pattern that I'm referring to, forming the cup, broke out, ran up 20%, but then that's as far as it went. Then it corrected to below the week of the IPO price.
Here's a daily chart.
Google also, which also had a direct offering, formed a cup, a nice cup base also.
Snow is another one that Market Smith picks up as a cup with handle.
So let's.
It's not the prettiest, but
there's Google right there. You can see, get my marker engaged. And then away. Google had a Dutch auction, which I wonder if that's the best way to do it. And we don't have to go into a Dutch auction, but I wonder if a Dutch auction for shares is the best way to do an IPO, because I mean they tried to open it at what they try to open it up at, Don? 240, and they
250.
250, and too much demand.
And it ended up opening at 381.
Which I wonder if the SPAC, which I know there's a plethora of SPACs right now, I wonder if the SPAC is the way to go. And SPACs are going to have their own issues because they have so many warrants out that come along with the SPACs that's going to dilute the shares. So if you like, if it's just for math's sake, if a SPAC comes out and it has 10 million shares, you kind of got to know all the warrants that go along with it, right?
Yeah, and the warrants they're taking, there was just an accounting judgment or a warning put out that the warrants are going to be targeted by the IRS or by the balance sheet, how they're handled on the balance sheet of the companies, because that's really where the big money is for the people that invest at the beginning when it comes public at around $10. There's warrants tied to those shares.
So if you so for those of you at home, I'm going to try to do this as high level as possible. And Danny, just correct me or Don if I'm wrong. You have warrants for that stock or that SPAC, and when they find a company to merge with, and let's say it doubles or triples, it allows you to get whatever the SPAC came public at. You have warrants to buy it back at that reference price. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, and so if a stock is trading, so if a SPAC comes public at 10 and the stock ran, like Nikola ran up to like 100, right?
I'll have to look at the chart.
Let's pull the chart. Yeah, let's just pull the chart. So Nikola comes public at 10, or you can see the reference price down here, and then let's just.
Yep, $94.
Yeah, $94. So if you have investors that have oodles and oodles of warrants, they can go back in time, convert their shares, from warrants to shares at $10 a share, and they make all the difference. It's a pretty good racket. So and here's the thing that happens with these SPACs. Once they find a company to merge with, they typically do get a spike. I don't think they're this this gross, so to speak.
Warrants are completely evil. What they're trying to do is they're trying to attract speculative money, and so they're asking them, would you put some money in this? And they say, well, yeah, I will, but you kind of got to add a sweetener. It's kind of not the same thing as a convertible bond, but it's sort of like similar to a convertible bond where you get interest rate.
With Leonardo DiCaprio, not Boiler Room, but the other stuff, Wolf of Wall Street. A lot of what the Wolf of Wall Street, I read the book, centered around, a lot of what was centered around on Wolf of Wall Street was warrants.
Yeah.
They would drive the price up, and they just had warrants floating everywhere on those penny stocks.
Yeah. I'm not saying they can't be abused.
Look, I don't think they're evil.
About them is they're trying to attract risky money, private equity money, and sweeten the deal so that you got a kind of a kicker, if you will.
It'll just, and look, DraftKings was a SPAC, and DraftKings is doing fine. QuantumScape, how's QuantumScape doing? Oh, QuantumScape.
I was about to ask you to pull it up.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, down $100 from the high, so not great.
Is this the Hindenburg report that happened? Is that what happened here with QuantumScape? I think they had a short seller report.
They did have a short seller this week. I'm not sure which report it was, though.
I mean, I don't know what broke it here, but if you had warrants, I mean, you're nuts. I don't know what the rules are tied to the warrants, if you can convert them, can't convert them, but you don't convert them. I mean, the reference price is 10. SPACs come public at 10. And so you don't convert them up at 134 and take some of your profits. And what that does, my whole point of this is that actually adds more shares to the count. And so you're diluting. It's like having an offering, Don, right? In essence, like, when a stock makes an offering and
Yeah, there's dilution. Yeah.
yeah, there's absolute dilution. And you should know how many shares are outstanding via warrants if they chose to come in and convert all of those. And is that what the
That's
SEC
fully
is?
diluted EPS. So you've got different EPS, earnings per shares number. You got regular EPS, which just talks about the outstanding shares, and then you got different layers. Well, if we, convert this, if you convert the convertible shares, and then the warrants, and fully diluted means if everything got converted, what does that number look like?
Speaking of which, there's Class A and Class B shares of coin. Brian Armstrong, the founder and CEO of Coinbase, has more. He has like 2 million Class A shares, but like 18 million Class B shares. And the Class B shares he's worth about 18 billion right now. Kudos to him. So yep, absolute kudos. And the platform he built. I mean, if you talk about venture capital and a bunch of people, Coinbase is the #1 crypto space to buy and sell crypto, and a bunch of people have used this platform to make themselves extremely wealthy. And so there is value creation there, absolutely. And so that's a good thing. That happens. All right, Hunter, what you got, brother? What are we researching?
I got a couple of names here, not too much. Just 2 banks and then a construction ETF and a materials type of play. So pull up WAL. And the banks have been consolidating. Most of them have around the 21 or the 21s. Like on WAL, for example, the 50 is almost gotten to the point where it's overlapping right there with the 21. They're about 1% off of each other. But WAL, I think I talked about it on a previous podcast as being one of the leaders in the bank space. And they're having a nice rally today with some pretty solid volume on earnings numbers, pretty solid EPS growth and revenue, just compared to their previous 3 quarters. And the other one is GS, Goldman Sachs, which is owned in-house. They also had a really positive reaction to earnings, some really strong volume come in, and consolidating kind of nicely after that initial move, up about 1% today, but looking good. And a lot of banks, even big banks, like pull up JPM. It looks similar to Goldman, but it doesn't have the volume coming in that you've seen on Goldman following earnings. But a lot of banks look relatively similar to WAL or JPM, GS. They had a really nice run and have consolidated while the 50 is kind of caught up to the 21.
Sure. Can I pause you for a second, Hunter, real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I promised. There were like 2 people that wrote in this week, and then Alex asked too. Let me show you, I think it's this button here, the ATR chart. So you go edit studies on Thinkorswim, and then anyone watching at home, you can just pause the video here and just move this over. This is how I set up the Keltner channels for an ATR chart. You can just pause the video here, set up your charts, and then go about your business. Okay, go ahead, Hunter. I'm sorry, I forgot to do that at the beginning of the show, and I wanted to.
No, you're good.
Forgot to do it.
The other, just an ETF that's showing relative strength today and is kind of riding the 8-day exponential is ITB, as well as XHB. They're same space, both of which are owned in-house as well, but strong moves, and they've continued to hold the 8-day as they've made this move. I'm pulling it up now on my end. It's just MarketSmith's being a little slow for me, but been riding the 8-day since 325. They got above it and have not closed below it since, and that would be at about 65, 66 area when that happens. So I mean, a decent 10% return over that time frame, and they've yet to break the 8-day. And the last one is FND. I know you've talked about this one before, Tim. Yeah, they had a nice breakout on earnings, I believe.
Yeah.
No, that's not right. It wasn't earnings. But what I wanted to point out was, so I own this one in the family account. I bought as it pushed past the 108.54 level. And then I added a little bit to it as it pushed up to around, I think the high was 113. I added around 111, 112, but it came back after the move and pretty much closed right on the 8-day exponential, got back above it, and then having a nice day today on roughly what will probably be close to average volume by the end of the day. But a nice move for FND after a decent consolidation there around the 100 level. It got all the way down to 81 and kind of bounced off a previous support.
Like that. Give me 1 second, Hunter. I want to show you something, and I apologize, I don't know it right off the top of my head. I won't take too much time with it if I can't find it.
Lean hog futures?
No, I'm looking for lumber, because lumber is if you,
Frozen concentrated orange juice.
oh man, I have never seen that movie.
What? Are you
swear-
kidding me?
You
I
gotta
swear-
go see that movie.
I swear to you, I've never seen it.
Oh, it is hysterical.
Oh man.
That's
Yeah,
one
what-
of the best movies, especially if you're into this kind of stuff.
Hold on,
I mean,
I'm gonna
it's
find it,
funny.
and I'm trying not to kill this show. Hunter had good momentum there. Palladium. Where are my lumber futures? Gosh darn it. Okay, here's coffee,
Live cattle.
live cattle, feeder cattle. I'm not gonna bore anybody with this if I
The
can't.
ETF is wood.
Oh, we'll just look at that because it's. I mean, you can look at some of the stocks too. Lumber, like all this is going to. I mean, just to look at the chart. I mean, that's all lumber. I mean,
I got a stock for you in the wood space that I've
Warehouser.
been following and should have bought. LPX, Louisiana
what's LPX?
Pacific.
Oh, I've not. Wow. Yeah. The lumber, like all this is going to, it's all going to tie together. If they don't keep rates low and they allow, because the economy's Danny's right. Like the economy's already running hot. Lumber is quintupled. Like all the inputs are significantly more. And by the way, there's no deals to be had on cars because of the chip shortage. And so there's
Well, and
like,
used cars are their
oh,
price.
one of my favorite stocks here, CVNA. What's that doing? It's just consolidating. I love this weekly chart of Carvana. Like this is absolutely one of my favorite charts right here. And look at what it's done in where's 21? Here's the end of 19. Oh, I'm on a weekly chart, so I could just do it from here. So here's the first week. Really only up 6%. This is, I think it's getting ready to break out, but that's here nor there.
Good.
KMX also putting in a handle in the same group.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, this is a space I'm absolutely stalking. But there's like in this, going back to sports cars for just a moment, there's like fake scarcity or like where Topps will print the same card, but they'll stamp 1 of 100 on it. And it's the same damn card. There's legit scarcity right now of automobiles, and there's no deals to be had. Lumber is not only expensive, it's hard to come by. We had that storm down here, Danny, in Texas. You couldn't get plumbing parts. Like I got really lucky where there was no frozen pipes. But you like plumbing parts are just coming back online. It's April. That was back in Valentine's Day timeframe. Like there is scarcity for real out there, and it's driving prices higher. And houses, I mean, just for the labor and the materials, you're going to see if they can't keep this dance going with interest rates, something bad is going to happen eventually. God bless.
Well, I mean, I guess just from a housing standpoint, you've got lumber, materials,
Yep.
Oil, gas, whatever, all these indications that inflation is running really hot. But the caveat is you've got super low mortgage rates, right? So, houses are more expensive, but rates are really low. And so, well, I mean, what does the Fed do? I just don't think there's an easy way to approach it, or even maybe a good way.
They have to let inflation run, because if they start raising rates to tame inflation, it's going to put a halt to it's going to put a halt on home buying. And when mortgage rates were going higher for the month of March, for the period, that was the lowest point of mortgage refis, for the last 12 months. And so you can see how sensitive consumerism is, but that type of consumerism is to rates, and that'll start hurting a bunch of people. Was
I
that all your
guess,
research, Hunter? I'm sorry.
yeah, that's all I had. But I
Yeah.
guess my point is, you know, who's to say where the end in sight is for how high lumber prices can go if they're just going
Go
to continue
forever.
to let it run?
Oh,
You know,
absolutely. Until they stop buying, like until the last customer stops buying lumber, and when it's an auction, right? Like if you go to the store or the auction house and the guy behind the counter says, "I've got 2x4s for $20," and nobody buys them, he eventually just starts lowering his price till people buy 2x4s. And it's no different than it's a market, and anything can happen there. So Alex, what you got, brother?
Yeah, so I'm looking at GM. We were talking about car stocks.
Yeah.
This one's setting up near the 21 EMA. Looks pretty
It's
good.
interesting. Tesla and GM. So Tesla has had a little bit of a comeback here, coming back above the 21. GM's been the better stock though.
Yeah, and then the other one was MOS, potash type
Okay.
name.
There you go.
We own this in-house. Got in a little bit earlier than what it is today. Positioned pretty nicely. It looks like it's making a mini cup. This consolidation's favorable, and that sector is not, if you're going to try a non-tech name, this may be a good idea. It's important to not get caught up to. I want to make a point. Last year, we had a really big year in tech. That's not, every year is not going to be like that. So keep your eyes open for other sectors, like we've said, and it helps with the risk too. Because if Nasdaq comes down and gets rug pulled, like you saw today, if you pull up pins,
Yeah.
that came in pretty harshly. Maybe Don, you want to touch on potentially what you think may be happening?
We'll get
Yeah,
there.
we got stopped on pins today. It wasn't apparent at first, but it looked like another liquidity issue similar to what happened that day with Discovery Discovery Channel and
Viacom or Viacom,
yeah,
however you say it.
Viacom, TME, and
TME, yeah.
VIPs, and it was just massive volume, way above average selling, no bid whatsoever. And when that happens, we just got out of the way.
According to
Tim, pull up the
Bloomberg,
intro on that if you
It
can.
doesn't,
it was
it doesn't
insiders
look bad on a
selling.
daily chart, but
Oh, that's a
later it
weekly. I'm
came out
sorry.
that there was some kind of a report that a research firm is saying that their channel checks suggest weakness
Oh, really?
coming for the existing quarter. Yeah, so we're stopped on pins.
I saw Bloomberg said there was some insider selling. I was like, you said, I thought, well, that's, I mean, you can sell. Like, I'm not a big skeptic on insider selling. I mean, unless it's a garbage stock. Pins isn't a garbage stock. You could sell for a bunch of reasons. Got tax bills coming up. You
Right.
got colleges to pay for. I pay attention more when they're buying. Like when insiders are buying, they're only buying for one reason. You can halt your buying. Selling can be anything. Let's see where it stopped. Yeah, big move today. What did it open up at? 88.83 was the high, and then maybe that report came out then. I wasn't. Oh, that's yesterday. I'm sorry. Here's today. Apologize. I got a 5-minute chart.
Yeah, it's a pretty big move.
Oh, it's tremendously big move. It was down to over 10% at one point.
Yeah, when it broke to 50, we got out of the way.
So, and then here's earnings coming up. Is that next week? The following week? So
2 weeks.
2 weeks. We'll see where. Yeah, you're below the 21 now, and so you're challenging this little gap level right here. It was interesting that you found support there. Was that all your research there, Alex?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Following up from last week, ADSK, Autodesk.
Mm-hmm.
I like the action. It's tight, and it's holding now at that $300 level, the Livermore area. I do own this for in our fund, so we'll see what happens. I'll raise my stop if it goes up another 3%, and maybe I can it can grind higher and break out of this double bottom base.
Awesome. I'll tell you what, Don, before we do the police thing where you tell us every move we make, every breath we take, you guys know the police? Alex, Hunter?
Yeah.
I know
Okay.
the lyrics of what you just said.
Is that because you're a stalker? What's up?
They
Could
were
be. I know the song.
Sting, man, Sting with his police days. Danny, let's do this. Let's give the folks what they come for. They want to hear you talking about how they can get a hold of us.
Folks, listen, if you like what you heard, tell a friend, tell a neighbor, just send them to revereasset.com and they can subscribe, hit that subscribe button, and they can put their email in there. And we won't spam them. We won't reach out to them in any way. It's up to them to reach out to us. But they can get this podcast that comes in every Saturday morning and the daily market insight short market video, about 10 minutes every night. There's also a webinars page, a different sign up. That's for Don when Don does his lunch and learns about once a quarter, noon on Wednesday, for an hour. Even if you got to work, even if you can't do it, it's good to sign up because he'll send you the link of the recorded video. You can contact any of us for a complimentary portfolio review or any questions you may have or just comments. You can go to Dan@revereasset.com, Tim at Revere Asset, Hunter at Revere Asset, Alex or Don at Revere Asset. We made it real easy. And you can also call us old school, 855 Real Wealth. I forgot to mention one more thing. We have a new office manager, Mural Bhakta, and she is going to be doing a lot of the sign-ups and helping clients with anything that they need just for account maintenance, not portfolio management or trading, but I just want to welcome her.
Okie dokie. Let's see here. Don, real quick, anything you want to cover? You've got the video tonight. So folks, if you don't know, Don does the 21/21, which is a leading stock research tool. The big show. Yeah. It's the
big
David
show.
Letterman. The David Letterman of was David Letterman the big show? I'm thinking of the late show.
But this is the top 21.
Yeah, 21/21. So Don does that video every Friday night that you can get that. So anything you want to preview in the 21/21?
Yeah, there's going to be about 5 or 6 stock turnover. And what we saw this weekend, this was actually the third time this year we've seen it, not as severe this time, but it continues to be a very challenging environment for growth stock investors. You take one step up, another step up, a third step up, and then boom, one big step down, undoing a lot of the progress. So it's really been more of an environment for swing trading. You've got to be quicker to take profits. Not seeing very easy 20% gains, not seeing breakouts continue up in earnest. It's a more challenging market, and this makes entry points, low risk entry points, even more important because if those stops get hit, you've got to it's the quick and the dead in an environment like this, as you can see with what happens with pins this morning. Holding up great, consolidating nicely, tries to break a little higher earlier this week, didn't succeed, and then boom, breaks the 8 to 21 and the 50 within 15 minutes. Tough environment. We'll go through, what we own, our buys and sells, and the 21/21 list in Friday night's video.
You got it. Don, I just noticed this over your shoulder, your left shoulder. Is that a new newspaper artwork that you've hung up behind you, or is that?
No, that's been there for a while. That was at the last firm I worked for. I was interviewed by IBD back in 2013.
Oh, awesome. I just noticed that for the first time. Awesome. All right. Well, congratulations. And it's probably been
Congratulations, 8 years later. Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably been up there since the show, and I'm literally just noticing it. Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you look over Danny's, it would be Danny's right shoulder. All that artwork you see behind Danny, his old partner used to rail on him every time he walked into Danny's office.
That's okay. He used to also rail saying Amazon was just
oh no, I'm not saying he was right. he would rail over Danny's artwork. What is that? And Danny would have to explain to him, it's from Australia. And Kofal would just, he was the most bitter person I think I've ever met in the history of bitter
There's
people.
the artwork right there. My sister
There
did
he
it.
is.
Great.
Yeah.
Is that a cat?
No, they're
No.
kind of one. Some are sharks, some are kangaroos and wallabies.
Oh, okay.
Those are good
Quite a
eyes.
collection.
Sharks are over there. They're kind of, it's Aboriginal art.
Can you play a didgeridoo?
I've actually got a couple didgeridoo. They're hard to play. They're cool.
Does
looking.
not surprise me that you have one.
Oh, she gave them to me. But over here, check this out over here. That picture right there, that's actually, I saw that. That's actually a stock certificate from 1919 or 1918 in France. And the little things on the bottom are little coupons that you clip off for the dividends.
Huh.
Really?
Never been, yeah. It was actually a tennis club in France. That's why I got it. It was kind of cool. I bought it.
That is cool.
Danny, look at you. I mentioned something about Don's artwork, which is an interview. I get your artwork in there, and you led me to where I wanted to go. It is amazing. That school of broadcasting I went to in Connecticut is effing awesome. The Hawaii School of Medicine upstairs, which is where Dr. Nick went. If anybody knows who Dr. Nick is, look at Don knows who Dr. Nick is. You know what? That's interesting about the stock certificates. Here's what the New York Stock Exchange is doing. They're going to make the first trades of Spotify, Snowflake, you can see the other names here, as NFTs. I don't know what that entitles you to, but that to me appears to be 21st century stock certificates, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're not going to print them anymore. I think Disney prints them for kids still, but there's no more stock certificates.
I've got stock certificates on my wall.
Yeah, I know, but that's from another era. Like you've got Enron and a whole bunch of other ones, but that's not these new names. And I wonder if that's another revenue stream for, who's selling them? Is it the New York Stock Exchange themselves? I guess. I don't know who's buying them, but the first moments for sale, like how many are there for? I mean, there's only one first moment, right? Like is someone actually going to buy the first moment? You could go back in time, right? And get the very first trade of Facebook. You could.
Is that what it is? They're just buying the first couple of trades kind of thing?
I don't, you know.
And then I'm assuming the first trade is, sells for more than the second trade and, so on and so forth, I would imagine.
Like I don't know where it stops. Like I don't understand this part of digital collecting is like, how do you let people know you have it? Like
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense to me.
I can kind of see it where it's like, I just don't know how you display it. Like Danny's got his certificates on his wall. I don't know how, like maybe everybody in the near future will have wallets that we all just look at. I'm not 100% sure yet, but that doesn't mean it's an invalid technology. It's just, there's going to be a bunch of things that get tokenized and maybe nobody
That gives more of a case for Ethereum.
I'll tell you what, Ethereum is my favorite crypto of the cryptos. I love
Dogecoin?
What's that?
Is it not Dogecoin?
Dogecoin.
Dogecoin.
Doge.
Dogecoin is Ben Stiller's coin from Dodgeball. If someone had bought like $100,000 of the mem coins, like, the dog coin and a whole bunch of others, I believe that I saw a tweet about it. Like they'd be like a billionaire right now. Like just pretty, like all the mem coins like that.
Yeah.
That's,
if I bought $100,000 of a lottery ticket and I hit the lottery, I'd be, hundreds of millions.
well, the mem coins have been a lottery. That's the whole,
Right.
that's the whole thing. All right. So listen, that brings me to Twitter. I prefer Twitter. To get a hold of me, it's brevity at TJ Razors. How you do it? Danny is one Danny Stewart right here. You can get a hold of Danny. Where's it? There it is. You can send Danny. My DMs are open, so if you don't have to follow me to message me. And then here's Don D Vandenbord on Twitter. And then I've got two last things, Danny, and I think that one of them will absolutely make you happy, Danny. I wonder if gold, well, it shouldn't make you happy. Danny has a gold bug following. I think gold is bottomed here for the time being. And that's kind of a big deal. I mean, gold has been going through this bottoming process now for a while. Finally got a couple closes over the 21 here this week. and now you're starting to move. And so you probably come up here to 18. You're trading right now 1880. My thought is you come up here to a little resistance level, 1815. Ultimately, if you can break through that, there's the 200 at 18. We'll just call it 1860. I don't know. I don't think gold is the fear trade anymore. I just think it's a commodity like anything else. Here's a weekly chart, and let's get this positioned a little bit
It's all
differently.
setting up for the next big stimulus spending.
Well, here's the thing. This is the weekly 21, this very thin pink line that I'm outlining right there. It's got to climb through that. And you can see it's almost gotten there and it's kind of pausing. If it can get through that, there's 1900. It's not a stretch to think you don't see 1900 in gold. That's only a $100 move. And then you're like, why own gold when you could be owning the BTC, right? I mean, that's what you call a move. And so, I mean, by the way, these
You've got a lot
pullbacks,
of charts, just like those gambling stocks we started open the show with, all of their moving averages are negative sloping, downward sloping.
yeah,
They haven't even flattened or curved up yet, but all the automobiles are actually upward sloping moving averages. So it doesn't matter what it is, what sector, what stock, you got to follow the charts.
yeah, and it's interesting to me with gold because there's it's so polarizing with like I don't know if anyone follows Peter Schiff. I don't follow him, but he shows up in my Twitter stream because other people are
Right.
retweeting him or making fun of him. Peter Schiff, by the way, does anyone know the show The Goldbergs?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know of it, never watched it.
Okay.
Pretty funny.
Peter Schiff looks like the Goldbergs' dad in the
Now
Goldbergs.
it does, yeah.
Yeah, who and the Goldberg's dad? Not the father of the father. You know what I'm saying? The old man who used to be on Taxi.
Yes.
Yeah. So Peter Schiff is so against Bitcoin, and if people are fond of saying price is truth, which is a huge saying in FinTwit, how do you not think Bitcoin is truth? You know.
I think you need to spread it out. I think you need to have, if you're concerned about the monetary policy and you're worried about both, you need to have probably some of both. And
Yeah.
I'll tell you, some of these exchanges are getting mined or hacked. They're getting hacked. You could lose it that way. There's a few scenarios where the electrical. What happens if they lose the coins? What do you do then?
Yeah. So to that point,
Huh?
that it was created as an anti-fraud, anti-hacking system because instead of being on.
Electromagnetic pulse wipes it all out. It's gone.
Well, the thing about blockchain is you can't hack it because you have a million. Let's say you have a million CPUs.
You're not understanding me.
He's talking about wallets. Danny's talking about storage of the coins, like whether it's in a like in cold storage, it can't be taken from you because
Yeah.
it's literally a hard drive.
Yeah, it's cold
Unless you
wallet.
lose the hard drive, and you don't remember your password. That guy lost tens of millions of dollars because he didn't remember his password from an account. But yeah, there haven't been many hacking issues since then, have there?
Not sure.
I've
I
never
haven't
heard of
seen
any
big
issues with
ones.
that.
Oh no, there were.
I've heard of people getting hacked and losing their Bitcoin and that kind of stuff.
You know how it's
Really?
happened? Well, how it's happened is they're not hacking into Coinbase or Mt. Gox is the most famous hack of them all, I believe. Didn't know the show was going to take a turn here, but I've got some knowledge. So what's happening is, and Coinbase has an issue. It's not Coinbase's issue; it's their users' issue. People's phones are getting hacked, and so they come into your phone, and then they gain entrance to your account.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the hackers are coming in through your device.
I misunderstood, Dan.
Yeah, but it's a good discussion point.
Different thing, like a terrorist weapon. If you've got a pulse weapon that wipes out the electricity system, you could knock it out. You can erase all the data. Boom.
Oh, you're talking about like an EMP pulse?
Yes.
Okay.
So you could make a weapon out of that, and you could wipe out your cars. Anything electric is done. Your cars, whatever. That causes from a nuclear warhead. But I'm saying I'm not talking about a nuclear warhead. I'm talking about you could have a attack that's a small, like a weapon.
But Bitcoin wouldn't be the only thing exposed. Our whole monetary system.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
theoretically could get the Bitcoin. That's why I wouldn't put all my eggs into Bitcoin thinking or a cryptocurrency thinking that that's bulletproof and safe.
I don't want to I don't want to jump in this discussion.
I think.
Yeah, I don't want to jump in this discussion, but let's just say that if there's an electromagnetic pulse weapon used against something, we probably have bigger problems.
Oh no, absolutely. And I'm not saying it like on a huge grand scale. I'm saying focused on just, you know, an attack on an exchange, attack somewhere.
Okay. So, well, Danny, thank you for that interesting tidbit. Much appreciated. Dollar is interesting here. Thank you, Hunter, for smiling. I appreciate that. You too, Alex. Right here, the 50 days. So the dollar is interesting. So the dollar has the lower dollar fuels our international S&P type stocks, and the dollar has fallen to support. And so it'll be really interesting to see. So my one last thing, it was gold, but it also ties into the dollar. The dollar is going to have a lot to say about the further direction of gold, but the dollar is also going to have a lot to say, and vice versa, about what's happening right here with ZN. So ZN catches, you know, a couple closes above the 21. Now it's stymied here at the 34. If ZN, and it's so sensitive, and we can look at, I've done this enough times, I don't need to do it on the podcast again. If ZN starts to fall back to the 21 or loses that support at the 21, it's most likely going to lead to a pullback in the NQ. And these are super bullish chart of the NQ. NQ is not a bearish chart by any means. I mean, look at that. There's the 5, there's the 8. You are, for all intent purposes, let's see where you're at. You're about 3.5% above the 21. That's not really that extended. For an indice, that might be extended, but for a stock, you don't want to buy 5 or 6% above the 21. You're right here. Like the TNX is like the chart I'm hawking is this one. This one right here determines so much of what's going on. If the prices of bonds keep going higher, this bull market continues, and you'll see growth just take off. But it's really hard to break out of these downtrends, and you can see the bottoming process taking place here. The next logical, if it breaks above the 34, the next logical step, of course, right there would be the 50. So I think that's. You have tech earnings starting. I think Netflix maybe starts next week, but the big ones are the week after, towards the end of the month.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be a really interesting.
I think Netflix is the 20th.
Yeah. So I mean, that's what, 4 days from now, 5 days from now. So
yeah.
Really,
yeah, so I guess that's what, next Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday.
So really interesting to see where these. How do they stave off inflation? Because you got to understand, and this is truly the one last thing. So Jay Powell is talking about his bond buying, and he's starting to talk about really small, like literally really small, just a small note. He's talking about tapering, and it's some of the first mention from him about tapering. Where, because if you say the word taper, it sends the market into a tizzy, right? And so Jay Powell's talking about. Would begin to slow. Yeah, he's going to begin to slow the pace of its bond purchases well before raising interest rates. So, and you got to think about how this is going to play out. So what's going to happen? So the market's a forward-looking vehicle, and this is really what I want StockNerds to take away from this one last thing type segment. The market's a forward-looking vehicle. So if Jay Powell says, I'm going to start tapering my bond purchases. And listen to what the Fed's been buying. The Fed has been buying at least $120 billion a month of treasury debt and mortgage-backed securities since June of 2020 to hold down long-term borrowing costs. Since December, the central bank has said the economy must make substantial further progress towards its goal of maximum employment and 2% inflation. We will then start tapering. So whenever you start, like every jobs report now, you're kind of on taper report, because if the market thinks that Jay Powell's going to decrease his buying, what he's really saying is sooner rather than later, interest rates are going to go up. And that's going to rock the market. He can say anything he wants afterwards. Jay Powell can say, I'm not raising rates. We're a long way off from raising rates. But the tapering of bond purchases will signal to the market that we're going to be raising rates probably sooner rather than later. And whether it's true or not doesn't matter. It's the market's perception. So I'm talking with an FDIC economist the other day, and he is a great dude. And he's like, this country's poised for growth. This country, he's looking at the numbers and he's got a preview of what's happening, right? Stuff that you and I don't have. And he's saying, the GDP is just going to be skyrocketing. And it's that kind of talk that says, wow, we should probably be watching this. That's why I hawk the TNX. Like if you look at yield, that's why I hawk these charts so much, because right now it's just all talk. And you can see that yields are, they're up today, but they've reversed. But I'm sorry to do that to you. If yields, you can see here is the end of March, the beginning of April. And what has the NASDAQ done in that time frame? Yeah, it's going almost straight up. If you see yields go up like this, I think it's going to happen in the third quarter. That's my personal opinion, that you're going to see great numbers towards the end of the year. And that's when it's all just are they
going to adjust it for inflation? That's the question too, though. GDP inflation.
We shall see. But interest rates, I think, even though they might come across as boring, I think the TNX, the bonds, the 10-year notes, and how sensitive NASDAQ and Q has gotten to their relationship, I think that is the most interesting thing going in the markets right now. With that, my fellow StockNerds and market lovers, Danny, take us home.
Folks, we'll talk to you next week on Your Money.